Today I have in the studio somebody that I've known for 30 years. Depending on whether you are a lover of Accra to folk, of Ghana football, of marketing, of public relations, you may have met him somewhere. But this is my guest, Neil Armstrong, Mortagbe.
Second year of my chemistry degree, I passed all my biochemistry papers and I failed 3 chemistry papers. Physical chemistry, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, all 3 down. Why did I fail them? It wasn't that I didn't have the head to study, it was interest. It was my heart and my spirit beginning to ask the question, where is your purpose? Where? Why?
He's a turnaround. Whoa, turn around. Turning point, yeah. He's a turnaround.
Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Okran. Welcoming you to Ghana's foremost developmental program, and that's place where the greatest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. Our partners are MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard. So, today we gather to reflect on talent and how to continuously develop that gift, that natural ability that God gave you. We've been reflecting so far on how to discover, develop, and to deploy profitably your natural ability. We've also had some great conversations with practitioners to find out how they embarked on the journey and how they are doing so far. Today I have in the studio somebody that I've known for 30 years. Yes, 30 years. And we met in conversation about business development, working on a project. Fast track 3 decades later, depending on whether you are a lover of Accra to folk, of Ghana football, of marketing, of public relations, you may have met him somewhere. But this is my guest, Neil Armstrong, Mortagbe. Neil, good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Rev. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm good by God's grace.
Let me not start you on football. If I do, I end up talking football.
Yeah, possibly.
But it's good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's been a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's go on to talent. Many people want to do something great with their lives, but very often you find that your greatest impact tends to be in the area of your gifting or your ability. What would you say your main talent is, Neil?
Well, my main talent is communication. It's talking, it's writing. It's anything that has to do with communicating an idea or a concept to people. I thrive. The people who get stage fright. We all get stage fright when we see crowds, but for me, I draw energy when I see a crowd. I mean, there's so many examples I could share about crowd experiences. In the beginning, you have the adrenaline rush, but once the rush passes or it blows over, I'm energized whenever I'm communicating with people. And it finds expression in the various fields I've worked in, but it's heavily communication. It's talking, it's writing. Sometimes it's even being silent, but pulling a certain face and you're communicating. So to answer your question directly, the talent side is communication. It's really communicating.
For people like you who find different expressions of what you do, some people struggle to think you have one talent. But I tell people I have only one talent. Just that there are different streams or expressions, but it's just one talent. And yours is communication.
Yes, it is.
Have you always known?
No, I've not always known. I started off from primary school to Motown, becoming a science student. In our days in Achimota school, we had a list we called the science list, and it felt like the Shabrain people are the ones who are on the science list.
I
don't know where the others would be. So everybody was keen on being on the science list. So at that time, I can't say I had found really where my talent was or where my call to purpose was. So went into science. Daddy thought I should become a medical doctor, and so I started on that path. Did biology, physics, and chemistry for the A-levels. Didn't make medical schools first off. And so I went into the University of Ghana to do biological sciences first year. Then You have shifting. Some do continue with the sciences, others become biochemistry. Some do food science. So I went into biochemistry with chemistry. So my first degree is actually biochemistry with chemistry. And it was in the second year of that course that I started thinking, why am I here? Because I wasn't feeling the course. It just wasn't me. Yes, my dad was ready to spend whatever it was to ensure that I become a medical doctor, but it was not me. And it was difficult going back to daddy and say, I've started on this journey. We all more or less talked about it somewhat. It looked like I was interested, but I wasn't feeling it. And let me tell you, it's a funny story. There are times where we would go to the chemistry lab. I would rush to finish my practicals just so that I could go to the School of Performing Arts and go and act the play. Yeah, not too far away. Just walk down the road and you're at the School of Performance from the Department of Chemistry. And so that kind of energy was what started pulling me to ask the question, why are you here? You know, and I say this very, very easily because it's a matter of record. And people typically don't want to talk about where they've had pitfalls. But I think when you share the places you have pitfalls, it helps others to realize that they are not alone in it. So in the second year of my biochemistry chemistry degree, I passed all my biochemistry papers and I failed 3 chemistry papers: physical chemistry, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, all 3 down. Why did I fail them? It wasn't that I didn't have the head to study. It was interest. It was my heart and my spirit beginning to ask the question, where is your purpose? Where? Why? So you're supposed to be studying for a chemistry exam and you're in the School of Performing. And I acted so many drama. I mean, I did the secular ones. I did the ones for Legon Pentecostals Union as a church member, then a member of the LPU. I had to rewrite these 3 papers. And everyone said, Neil, you're going to get an automatic pass or 3rd class because 3 out of 8 in your second year was a very, very tough ask. A grade point just fell down. But to the glory of God and by God's grace, in the 3rd year, I stopped a lot of the co-curricular. I was also doing sports. I was 400-meter champion in second year. It was the only race I ran in the final year. I said, I need to defend my title. Everything else, I just shut it down and said, focus and finish this program. Your family have invested in you. Don't come and embarrass the old boy. If it's for that reason and that reason alone, let you feel that his investment hasn't gone waste. And thankfully, I got a second lower. I was so excited. You know, so people look at second lower, second upper, first class. Hey, me, my second lower. It was a blessing. And off the back of that second lower, I think I started getting into a path where I was able to move away from science, which was in me, to where I believed I ought to have been in getting into my first employment in Unilever.
Yeah, I mean, it was in Unilever that we met working together with the Liquid Mortagbe on the SMART program. But I'll come to that. So Neil, while you reflect on the intentions, the good intentions of the old boy, as you call him, versus your interest and the clash, what would you say to this persistent conundrum of parents versus children, their interest versus what the parents believe is the best for them, and many homes have these clashes, even ongoing.
Ongoing. And Albert, I get into those conversations with parents all the time, and there's some kids. Yes, there's some kids who come and tell me what they want to do, and say they are scared to tell daddy or they're scared to tell mommy because mommy says I should do this, and I know in my heart of hearts that this is what I want to do. I would typically quiz the child just to be sure that the child knows exactly what he or she is saying they want to do. I give them some tests. Sometimes I go around with them, just drive around, checking interest levels. It's easy for somebody to say, I have a passion for something, but there are ways of determining whether indeed there's that passion by asking the right questions. Once I'm convinced about what the child is saying, then I engage the parent. And when it was that my son was choosing his courses for senior high school, he chose home science. It's my first son, Glenn. And everyone around me said, a boy is going to do home science. I said, Masa, me, what I saw in university, I won't stop him. If he's interested, really, really keen and interested, let me support him. Let me keep going without asking the questions. But he was a kid, so it's part of his journey of exploration. So he took the home science and got his first choice school. Later on, I've not asked him before, but I think it was his way of finding as easy a path as possible into the school of his choice, knowing that certain other courses were not very strong for him. And so I tell parents that we need to observe our children. We need to give them the space. It's a generation that is so much more exposed than we were. In our time, when you want to find out something about anything, you have to go to a library, physical library, borrow a book, fill a card, sign the paper, bound library. I mean, now the library is on our phones. They're all over. So they are very exposed. They learn a lot more about themselves, I think, much more quicker than we were able to learn in our time.
You underrate them?
And I think we underrate them a lot. There are times where my son, the first and the second, they send me messages. Maybe he's done something wrong. The message you send to you, you read it and say, wow. And then, then you go into the AI space and realize, okay, he knew he'd done something wrong. He needed to find a way to apologize to daddy. He used it and then put it in his style, gave their own touch to it. But that's the level of exposure they have. So how can we, as parents, now conceive that we know so much more than them, that we should dictate and direct them as to what to do? I think it's unfair to the kid, especially when the child crosses 18. It's an adult.
So your recommendation is conversations?
Conversations, observation. And for those who are blessed to have kids who are very, very young, start watching them now. Watch them. What do they like? I remember at age 6, my second boy, Albert, we were having a program at Bremer Camp, Nicholson Park, a kids program, bouncy castles here. The guy just went and took the microphone and started talking. It's no wonder for me today that he's studying public relations and communication studies at Unimark Institute of Journalism, which used to be called Ghana Institute of Journalism. So right then I said, but this looks like possible an MC or a communicator, that I didn't dictate it. So he's studying it there.
Did you see that socialization?
Possibly, maybe looking at daddy, you never know. But he's good with it. He's got the flair for it. I mean, I also discovered mine almost fortuitously. You've got friends who gather for a social event. The boys are together. We're having somebody's birthday party. Or who will do the MC? Then he'll take the mic. And then I do, and then it's flowing and it's going well and it's effortless. It's not like I've gone to try to remember jokes. No, it's just the environment. Tap into the environment, tap into your knowledge about your friends, and you're able to have this experience with them.
Which stage in your life did you find that out?
This is around age 18, 19, A-levels. Yes, that's when I started feeling it. But then again, I was studying science. So at times, this thing must go down. Let me go and be the medical doctor that I want to be. But once we finished university, and I realized that this was really not where I ought to be, I started developing it more, started phoning radio programs. My name is Neil Mortagbe. I want to talk about the match between Accra to Folk and Accra Great Olympics. And it's still the vocalization. And then the next thing I knew, Choice FM said, come into the studio. Let's have a conversation.
You're like a serial caller.
Yeah, I was like a serial caller. Exactly so. Serial caller for phobia. Because it's always about Hearts of Folk.
Yeah.
And then later I extended it to other sports because I have interest in Formula One, in basketball. Started calling on other areas, but the majority was always on football. And so
you went to, so Choice called you?
Choice called me, I went to Choice. Then I started, so at some point on a Saturday, I'll be on 3 radio stations. I'll be on Choice. From Choice, I go to Radio Gold. From Radio Gold, I go to Vibe FM, which was a 5 o'clock program, 5 to 7. And we're all talking sports.
What financial?
No, it wasn't. And for me, it didn't really matter. The thing was, I just felt I was happy doing what I was doing. And that's why I see your talent as being very heavily linked to your calling. People talk about calling, and the moment they think calling, they're thinking a spiritual issue. No, for me, calling is about why you are here. It devolves into purpose. And I say it without any fear of equivocation that we are all here for a reason. It's finding that reason that is a problem. And many people live and die without finding that purpose.
What's yours?
My purpose is to be one of Africa's foremost, most celebrated communicators, impacting the lives of as many people as God brings me into contact with. I put a figure on my CV, about 1 million to be impacted. But I know I can do much, much more than that. And I keep challenging myself. That's the purpose. Be foremost communicators and human capital developers. That's the nexus between my communication side. Obviously, you are communicating to people. So in communicating, you're impacting on the human beings and helping them to also live lives of purpose.
Would you say that your communication is linked also to your interest in sports?
I'd say yes and no. The interest in sports is because I played football very early on. I used to do track and field. did volleyball, did table tennis. I've been an avid sports enthusiast. But I find I communicate about anything and everything once I have an interest in it. So I communicate faith, I communicate purpose, I communicate motivation. I use a lot of that also in the sports area. And so a lot of times when people Google Neil Armstrong, Mortagbe, they see the sports side, they see the football side, and it becomes quite revealing to them when they realize that there's so much more to Neil than just sports. I mean, you talked about Unilever. I worked in corporate for several years. Unilever, STC, Maersk Line, and all these were not football or sports related. This was corporate work, communicating to the workforce and ensuring that they got stuff done. Set up a department at STC, 53-member customer service, marketing, and sales department. That's not sport, but it was all using the power of communication. And that's why I find my greatest expression. There are times where, Albert, I go into a studio, I hardly ever make preparatory notes or heavy preparatory notes. I'll put down pointers, 3, 4, 5 pointers. And once the interview starts, we are rolling, and it's talent, it's gift. And that's where I find the expression.
When you found your talent, when you found that interest in communications, walk us through the journey of developing it. How did you develop it? Did you read more? Did you write more? Did you deliberately take on opportunities that would help to put the gift out there? Help us to appreciate the first steps you took in developing it. I know your first course was in
Chem.
with that as your foundation,
you know,
like your son used food science
to get into more
home science as the foundation.
Yeah, as his foundation.
Let's push on to in the area of your interest. How did you develop it?
Well, it was very much personal development. Again, like I said earlier on, we didn't have the internet in those very early days, so it was just about starting, mid-90s. So Unilever, I'd take opportunity to read as much material as was available. I was reading more of marketing than communication at the time, because that was the department that seemed to employ the talking side, the writing side. But because of the biochemistry, I was put in the development laboratory. So there are times where I'd finish whatever work I had to do there, and then I'd go to the marketing manager in charge of detergents and said, I'm interested, so can I have a look at it? We're on this project, like you described earlier, the systems management and redesign Team Smart. So it gave me the opportunity to read so much widely about Unilever, look at where the opportunity areas to express the gift.
That was where the seeds of my consulting life were birthed.
I wouldn't be surprised, because that was a whole business process thing.
It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was incredible. That experience, when I say I'm a business process person, it started that 95, same as you're describing. Yes,
Richard.
Yes, and Raymond was a wonderful leader, man.
Amazing leader.
Superman. Yeah.
So, Neil, would you say that in the journey of your life, the bits and pieces of marketing here, business development here, a bit of research here, even the biochemistry that you are writing, do you find that who you become in life is often a confluence, a convergence of all these things coming together in a unique way that is different from everybody else?
Yes, I'd agree with you totally on that, because you mentioned the biochemistry. So if one asks, what is a chemistry person doing communication? But I find that the thought processes that go into resolving issues in science are applicable in virtually every field of endeavor. I would say the science taught me to be a methodical thinker, logical thinker. There's this thing my math teacher in Achimota School, Mr. Akpete, used to say, from first principles. Physics teacher, the same, is always look at what is the first principle, because for you to solve a problem, you must understand its first principle. It also manifested in my ability to teach my kids mathematics ahead of their BC and their WASI. So I'd say the biochemistry and the science were part of it. They help the methodical part of you. So when it is that you are designing an article, you're writing an article, you know you need to do certain things at the foundational level before you won't start writing from the end, before you start writing right from the front. And that gave me the leg into Unilever. Okay, so they looked at the degree. Obviously, we went through an interview process. A year and a half, okay, we did Smart for 6 months. Another year and a half, I was in the development lab, and I kept telling Ishmael Yamson, our chairman at the time, that you're wasting my talent. You're not using me enough. It took a lot because then they could say, okay, if you think that you're not needed here, you could find your way. But I was a management trainee, so I knew maybe I had some leeway to ask for those kinds of accesses. And so I asked Mr. Yamson if he didn't mind to give me a stint in marketing. But I joined the marketing unit as a development laboratory rep on the detergents committee. And
They give you a way in.
yeah, and then before 6-7 months down the line, I was now moved from development laboratory to the marketing department, which is a part of it's within the communication space. Started talking to my head, look, I want to go into rural advertising. Then this concept was brought, direct consumer contact. Okay, go out there to 27 districts of Ghana and go and market the products of Unilever. Work with the National Theatre, work with another theatre company, develops kits that talk about key soap, Pepsodent. Oh boy, this is like 97 matter I talk, and it's always there because that I was happy. Now I had a space where I could go and express the gift and the talent. And I would always doff my hat to Mr. Yamson for giving me that opportunity. Someone else could have said, look, this is your field, stay there.
You speak for several other people that went through that rigorous management trainee program at Unilever at the
That's
time.
rough, yeah.
And also through the hands of Mr. Yamson, who talked about the fact that, even Raymond himself talked about the fact that their first line of study in the university was not necessarily what brought them what they pursued.
Yeah.
It gave them some foundation, but in that system there was a flexibility to move them in different directions until they found what they are good at.
Yes.
We did then see that for those who think they don't even like the course that they are doing and would like to do something else, once you are in there, still finish it, and you would find it useful in the things that you do.
Yes, I would say so to anybody who started. Finish it. Don't just drop it. Look, I've started courses and dropped them. That today I wish I had gone on to finish to complete them. I started an executive MBA in finance in Legon. When I was still looking at what to do, how to enhance oneself. Sadly, I truncated it. I started a postgraduate diploma in one of these other acting logistics because I was looking towards MESC at the time, and I dropped. And when I look back, I said, if you had these two, it adds so much gravitas to your profile. So to anyone who started a program and is not sure whether to continue, I beg you, let me beg you on this set. Finish it. Apply yourself to it. You can do it. Finish it and finish it well. It will one day serve you. I sometimes sit and I'm trying to write an equation because of the science background. So I'm looking at, the level of preparation that a communications professional puts into preparing for a show, all right, plus the content that he is going to apply, plus the contribution of the interviewee, what result does it give? I sometimes think, can I write an equation? And then that becomes what? Then the Armstrong hypothesis. So, and it's all because of the science. So somebody may say, oh, you wasted 3 years. I said, I never wasted 3 years. I went through an experience that strengthened me and made me know I could do even something that I didn't feel like doing. Once I'd committed to it and there was a commitment to it, I will finish it. But having finished it and finding the path, then you start developing yourself along the path that you believe you've developed or you've realized for yourself.
This is Springboard, your virtual university. And as you can tell, the voice you are hearing, the face you are seeing if you're on television, is that of Neil Armstrong Mortagbe. So Neil and I go way back, and we are trying to break down the journey of his talent. Finding a communications talent against a biochemistry background. What you don't want to do versus what you want to do, and the dance between them. We'll go for a break. When we come back, I'm not going to explore something we call lifelong learning. Why would you now in your 50s go back to school and take the school like World Cup? What are you looking for? and find out how this journey of talent development never ends. But we really also go into the end product. What is the end game of all this that we are doing? This is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Springboard Roadshow Foundation and Mastercard Foundation. Let me take a minute to give you the Enterprise Advantage tip. And the question for today is, what is a personal pension plan? Something you should be thinking about at every stage in your career. What's a personal pension plan and why do you need it? The response from the Enterprise Group is that you can enhance your retirement benefits with a personal pension plan. What does it give you? It offers you the opportunity to grow your retirement income ensuring a comfortable retirement lifestyle. This is brought to you by the Enterprise Group. The number to call 030-263-4777. Email info@enterprisegroup.io. Enterprise, your advantage. If you are thinking of opportunity in the agriculture and agribusiness space, the number to keep in your mind at all times, especially if you're a young woman looking at how to find leverage in that space, is one of the 5 fastest growing industries in Africa. So something food, something agric must be in your cocktail in life. I hope you have something agric in your life.
Yeah, I'll talk about that when we come back, I'm sure.
All right. So if you are a young person listening between the ages of 15 and 35, especially if you're a young woman, the number to keep for WhatsApp or phone 030-8255-775. The Ghana Grows program will give you all the updates that you need. So just call or WhatsApp that number and you'll be given some guidance. Let's go for a break. When we come back, what is the next level in your talent journey? Please don't worry.
No stress. Submit your insurance claim online in just seconds on the Claims Express portal. Simply upload your national ID, cost estimates, pictures, and more to get started. Submit online, track progress, and get paid fast. Skip the paperwork and get back on the road with ease. Visit claimexpress.enterprisegroup.net.gh for easy claims and quick payouts with absolutely no stress.
Enterprise, your advantage. Good business means seeing the possibilities and maximizing opportunities. Making sure you have a responsive support system backs your business goals. A partner that gives you a stable platform with reliable connectivity and seamless solutions, and better understands the tools required to take you to the next level. With so many moving parts in running a business, we do our best to provide you with some stability. The only kind of stability you can find with MTN Business Broadband, the fastest and most reliable internet provider in Ghana, making sure you stay ahead and stay connected, because we understand what makes your business tick.
Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh or call or WhatsApp 0244 308 111.
MTN.
Learn something new every week and be inspired by innovations, impact, and success stories of individuals making strides in the agricultural, agribusiness, technical, and vocational skill sectors on Ghana Grows Ejuma with Arabakumson and Yabitha. Join us this and every Thursday on Facebook at 7 p.m. at Ghana Grows, also at Comfort Okran A and at Albert N.E. Okran. On Fridays at 4 p.m. on Joy 99.7 FM and on Sundays at 5:45 p.m. on TV3. Ghana Grows is an initiative of MasterCard Foundation in partnership with the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. If you are a young person and you want to be a part of our various interventions, call or WhatsApp Ghana Grows call center on 0308 255 775. Follow us on all our social media handles. Ghana Grows Ejuma. Hope Day.
Welcome back to Springboard, your virtual university, and to this incredible conversation about talent, my talent journey with my brother and friend Neil Armstrong Mortagbe, talking about communication, the discovery, the development, the deployment. We'll soon touch on continued relevance, but let's go to our promise to highlight one agribusiness venture every single time, because this is a promise we've made and a brand is a promise kept. And so let's highlight today Abuke Cuisine, and that is the business that we are promoting. And just to remind you, if you would like us to highlight what you are doing, join the conversation on social media, the thread on which you are watching this stream. Just mention your business, what you do, and why we must give you that big promo here on Springboard, and at absolutely no cost to you, we will just let the world know what you are doing, and hopefully that could multiply your sales and your return from your business. It's our contribution to the young people of this continent. That's how we do it here at Springboard. So today we are highlighting Abuke Cuisine. They do a delicious range of natural fruit juices and traditional local drinks, sobolo, millet drink, and asana. Charlie, which of them is your favorite? Sobolo. You can't go wrong.
Oh, no, you can't go with sobolo.
So, for snack lovers, they also do plantain, flour chips, frozen spring rolls, and samosas ready for you to fry and enjoy at any time. And they also have that famous hibiscus infusion tea bag, 100% pure hibiscus petals and full of antioxidants. That's why you must note this number, 054 732 3080, 054 732 3080, and the name is Abuke Cuisine. This conversation about talent is brought to you by the Springboard Mission Foundation in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard. Our media partners are the multimedia group, that is Joy News, Joy FM, and then also the graphic range of newspapers. Neil, we've talked about discovery, we've touched on development. We still will stay with development and deployment. But let's talk about the journey, the various pit stops, since you love Formula One, the various pit stops and the requirements at the various pit stops. For anyone who knows you well, they will know that your breadth of activities include PR, it includes sports, business, it includes marketing, business development, some entrepreneurship, and even advocacy. But let me run through the fact that you've worked with Unilever, FIFA, the British Council, GFA, Accra to Folk, my darling Accra to Folk.
That's it.
World Space, Maersk Multimedia, and Gateway to Africa in UAE. Your footprint travels to not just different companies, but different industries. Help us to appreciate. You found that you're a communicator, but help us to appreciate, in order to stay relevant, the different requirements you've experienced in the different roles that you have played. Let's say FIFA versus Maersk, or multimedia versus Outlook. Help us to appreciate.
So I reckon that it's heavily some of the things I had studied. So I gave an example of biochemistry, with chemistry becoming my entry point into Unilever. And then having discovered the communication call, if you like, the call to communicate, was always finding a path where that call could be made manifest. So in Hearts of Folk, for example, I talked about calling radio stations. So of the stations now inviting me into the studio to speak on certain subjects, the Hearts of Folk people themselves, at the time the chapters, the supporters group called the chapters, they, without my knowledge, put me up for election to the National Financial Controller. But they just said they wanted a space where I could be a member of the committee to talk on behalf of the committee. So there was somebody...
Chapters.
Yes, the chapters.
There's a powerful guy called Abdul Aziz.
Yes, Aziz Haruna Futa. Yes, he's my man. Yeah, he's a very good friend of mine.
I haven't met him before. I know his name.
Oh, yeah. They formed a chapter called Chapter 100 when I was in the National Executive, but the nickname we gave them was Chapter O.
Yeah, I know about that.
Yeah, So it was that the communication seemed to always give me. So the Bible says, "Seest thou a man skilled in his gift, he will stand before kings." And that's, for me, how I got into the various spaces. I may be holding a particular title, but at the bottom of it is, Neil is the one who speaks. So financial secretary of the chapters, and yet I'm being deployed to go and talk on behalf of the chapters. At Maersk, I was head of export. So I was engaging with customers, working with both international customers and local customers. At STC, I spoke earlier on of heading the marketing department. I was in charge of 53 staff. Again, you're communicating. And then once you've done your work there, you need to now report on it. It's still communication. With FIFA, my FIFA story, very interesting. I was a consultant to the FA at the time, and I was nominated to MC a 3-day women's football program at Alisa Hotel. When the program was over, I asked my general secretary at the time, Kofi Ntia, whether there was any coins for the boys. And he said, FIFA were viewing whatever I had done and a couple of others had done as more of a voluntary service. 6 months after that, I got a call from FIFA Development Office in Cote d'Ivoire at the time, run by a gentleman called Sampon Kablan. And he asked for my CV. Without asking why, I sent it to him. A few months later, I got a call from FIFA head office in Zurich. And the question they asked me was I available to come do a small interview and training in Zurich because they wanted to make me a FIFA instructor in administration and marketing. So it started from the pro bono MC, and here I am, FIFA instructor. And so I went to Zurich in 2008, thereabouts. And there again is the communication. So you're more like you're teaching. The instructors are like lecturers, consultant lecturers. So I was doing administration and marketing, and then they fed some other subjects into the administration side. So strategy, anything that's to do running an organization. And we did this through that I touched 16 African countries, all working under the aegis of FIFA. So that's how the communication, the call to communicate and recognizing it, and then personally developing it and honing it. And mind you, at that time, I hadn't gone to any official school to say I'm studying communications. Wow. The world had now opened up and a lot of material was available online. So I go online, I do a short certificate course, the 3-day seminar, and just learning of people who had been in the industry over time. I used to watch foreign television a lot, BBC a lot, later on CNN. I watched the speeches given by especially the presidents of the USA. And all I'm doing is, what can I learn? What am I picking from them? And I believe that it's those learnings that help me to access sometimes opportunities where on paper I wasn't qualified for. It's the same gift of communicating. So STC, how did I become STC head of marketing? I was 31 or so at the time. The advert said you should be 35 years or more. You should have been head of a marketing department of a similarly sized organization. You should have an MBA in marketing. I just used these three. I had none of the three. But I had almost 5 years experience with Unilever. 2 years and 8 months of that in marketing. So I did a sheet of paper and put Unilever logo at the top. Underneath it, I said, this is not a certificate, but I just listed my Unilever experience and added it.
Working in a process review program.
Yeah, including the process review. The business
process. So clear.
Size, yes. Cut down costs.
Only one kind of experience that can reduce your staffing deployment.
Exactly.
Cut down cycle time, cut down your costs.
Exactly.
So how to do that?
Yes. It was all there. So I go for the interview. Did you read the requirements for the interview? This was by the managing director at the time, James Osubonsu. And I said, yes, I read the requirements. Are you so and so? They essentially asked me questions that made me see that I was not qualified for the job. Then they asked the question, why did you apply for the job? And again, this same communicating thing. I said, I know I'm not the one to be asking questions in this interview. But as you asked me the questions about whether I was qualified or not, I began wondering, why did you invite me? But let me not wait for you to answer that question. I believe you invited me because of, then I pulled out the Unilever paper. So this paper, this Unilever logo is probably why you called me. And then I mentioned the process review. I mentioned the fact that I'd been to development, packaging development training in South Africa. I mentioned the fact that I'd been marketing. I'd done rural advertising. I'd been around the whole country. And I said, STC has offices all over this country. It's those things in here that made you invite me in spite of the fact that I didn't qualify per the advertisement. And that's why I believe I'm the best person suited to take this job. I got the job.
When you see it, were you convinced that
I was more than convinced that I was convincing them.
I can see it in your eyes.
Yeah. Because it's like you have to have him. And I keep saying to young people and my friends, what do you have? You may not have what the advert says. And some people will say, how do you apply for a job that you're not qualified for? I said, I'm talking from personal experience.
Yeah.
You can try it and see. It worked for me. Why can't it work for you? It's about knowing what you have and communicating what you have, projecting it.
In a recent interview I had with Antesk in a PCH Hangouts, he says, Albert, when you sit there, when you stand there, this may be the last chance
I promise you.
Those moments of truth.
You have to fire. You have to deliver.
You owe it to yourself and to God.
Hey, Albert, when we finished, I left and said, I was convinced that I'll get this job.
And you got it.
I got it. The beauty of it, when I was called by the MD, they come to the office. on paper and all that, but we think you can do it. I say, yeah, I can do this. Now the next question, you young guy, what can you want? Then I talk to myself properly. And I said that because the offices are all around the country, I would want a salon car. All right, that reflects the role I'm playing for the company. I won't tell you the brand, but reflect the role at the head of marketing for my town rounds. And then when I must go out, there should be a sensible, use the word sensible SUV at my disposal. It can be there as a pool car for anyone who needs it. But when I need to travel, I should have the right of first refusal. And they got the 2 vehicles for me. This is 30 or 31-year-old guy. Yeah.
What was the difference?
Well, the difference for me was knowing who you are, what you have. And when I say who you are, it's what also the maker made you. Because a lot of times, my dad, of blessed memory, Albert, always used to say, Albert actually, that's my dad, used to say, man, know thyself.
That explains it.
Yeah, know thyself. And when you know yourself, it doesn't matter what you don't have. It's what you have that matters. I've lectured students to go and write exams and acquire degrees that I don't have. I didn't and still don't have. I've helped people in their research work, just testing their hypothesis to go and get PhD, which I don't have. But what I have is that gift to communicate. It's a world of experience from experiencing both failure and successes. And the fact that I'm a very inquisitive person. It's part of what you have. It's your persona is also part of what you have.
And the inquisitive nature is some biochemistry related thing.
I tell you,
let's explore. Finally, after doing it for a while and getting the world to listen to you, then you decide to go and do an actual postgraduate degree in the field
communication.
That you're earning your
I promise you, I've been earning for so many years.
Is that the reason why? I mean, let me let the world know. I mean, just so that I put context to this question. That at your age, you go and do a master's and get literally first class masters.
First class masters.
I mean,
that's essentially what it is.
That's what I call it.
Yeah.
I mean, GPA 4.0. We're all best students, and I'm sure you're competing with students who are doing their very first outing in that space.
Yeah.
What was the push? What was the drive to take it so personal?
Yeah, it's a very important question for us, Albert. And I mean, there are various threads to this, but it begins with this whole purpose idea. And the fact that I believe that the purpose to which you are called determines the impact that you will make. If you find that purpose, then you need to operate in it, and then you make the impact. A lot of people look at position. I look at impact. Because the impact, ultimately, position is a derivative of impact. The impact you make determines where people position you, not necessarily a title. It's about where you're positioned in the minds of people and in the social communities that you serve. So for 15 or so years, I kept telling myself, I must do this course. I must do that course. Friends would say it. Arnold, my big brother, would say it. And then in 2019, Arnold took ill. I mean, he had been battling some illness, but then it got very bad. And he was admitted at the Trust Hospital in the second week of May. So whilst we're in hospital, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're talking, and Arnold kept saying, Neil, there are a lot of things that you can do with this talent that you have. And one of them is you can teach. If you put your mind, you're doing it for British Council, you've done it for FIFA, why can't you do it in a structured system where the impact you think you can make becomes, because as a teacher or a lecturer for that matter, you meet so many people and you can impact them. That was the first thing he said. He said also, you argue well. So whilst we are thinking about communications, maybe a law thing, we don't know. And then 3 days later, Arnold passed on. Yeah, and I was beside him when he passed.
Arnold was just a...
Yeah, you know Arnold, yeah. He was the quintessential gentleman. I mean, Arnold was different.
I traveled with him to different countries.
Yeah.
Just such a great guy.
Super brother, and he's always there for you. Yeah. Soft-spoken, you tease Arnold, he won't be angry. Myself and Chris, my younger brother, always worrying him. He'll just be coming and he'll smile. That's his smile. And so Arnold, and then as I stood beside Arnold's lifeless body, I vowed to myself that maybe, just maybe, out of the pain of the loss, I could push further on my path to purpose and fulfilling it.
Oh,
Yes. Here you have me, Neil. Yes. And for my mom. My mom was and is still around. So I was with my dad when my dad passed. I had to go home and tell my mom. Now with Arnold, my big brother, when he passes, I have to go back and tell his mom, my mom, that your first boy is gone. Albert. It's one of the most difficult things I've done, if not the most difficult, to tell a mother that her son, her first, that is peace here. So honestly, I don't know how I did it, but went, did it, saw my mom's tears, saw my mom grieving her son. And I said, if my pursuit of this path or this purpose, in keeping with some of the things Arnold shared with me, can, God willing, make my mom shed tears again, but tears of joy? Neil, you've got to do this. Oh, wow. So I started with an LLB. I did a Bachelor of Laws at GIMPA. But I still didn't feel enough. Now the question was, do I go and do the entrance exam to Makola or the communications thing? Because if you're a lawyer, you're still communicating. That was the thinking. I said, no. I assessed it with some friends. They said, no, Neil, go do the PR, do the comms. Because that be you. That's you first. The law can be, but this one. And so then I entered Unimark, IJ. This is when we're in 2025. So it's just 2024, January. Yeah, I applied in 2023 and then got admitted and started the program. And one thing I told myself was, look, you've been a practitioner for a long time. You can't come and sit down in this classroom like somebody who has not done communications before. You've taught people to take communication degrees and acquire them. You must make it count. So if at your LLB, you did fairly okay. Your biochem, you were jumping around and go a second lower. This one, for making for tear my debt, you should make it count. And that was the mind with which I entered there. Mind you, I have 3 kids. One at the time was entering uni in Accra. The other was in Cape Coast in school. There was some particular Saturday, I had to go visit him because he's visiting. So I took permission from his housemaster to visit him in the morning instead of the afternoon. I left Accra like 4 a.m., got there like 7, met Albert, we talked, whatever provisions and cash matters, 22 minutes. I drove back straight into the lecture hall at Unimark IJ. Saturday lectures was from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I missed the first lecture, but I was in for the remaining lectures because I needed to make this count and I needed to honor the maker with the gift he's given me. And if it had to do with academic excellence, and one of the funny stories I tell is when I was in primary school especially and they were giving prizes, Albert, my almost like my signature prize was prize for good progress. So I'll start at the 13th position and I go to like 8th or 7th, then I come to 3rd or 2nd, not first, 3rd or 2nd. Prize for good progress, Neil Mortagbe, then I'll go in here. I'm happily collecting. But this one, I said, I've lived most of my working life in this field. I've done a few certificate programs in journalism, in writing, but this one is a big one. And that's how come I applied myself. Had friends who were willing to share the theoretical sides because you're a busy person. You're not reading the theory that much. So they'll read it, break it down, and then come and share. And then I also share my experiences with the group that we were having the conversation with. There are 2 groups. There was one group called the Ancestors. And the Ancestors are more like those of us who have been in the industry for a while who are trying to work our way into getting the qualification. And then there are the younger ones who would do the theory and come and take us through.
They didn't have a name.
No, they didn't have a name. There were 3 of them who were like, they call them the Shakos, They were the Shak. They know the thing. Yeah. So then I come and then share a bit of the practical side with them. And then we'll go write the exams. Do the assignments. And by God's grace, we went through this thing. And honestly, I wasn't expecting what ultimately evolved. I just said I have to apply myself to this thing.
When you stood on the stage, best student, 4.0 grade point, what was going through your mind?
There was a lot going through my mind. But the 2 things that stood out on my mind where Arnold was right. And mommy's tears would turn. And then this becomes part of the definition of who Neil really is. Because a lot of times people hear my name and it's sports, it's football. And they say he speaks well. But the speaks well always seems to come as an add-on. It's a function of the life I've lived, admittedly, because I've done a lot in that space and I've spoken for football and sports for God knows how long. But I just felt that it was necessary that the call to be a communicator starts being more expressed and being more seen. And the other things I've done that could help industry, that would help the entities with whom I work. So nobody hears Neil Armstrong, Mortagbe, and thinks only football again or thinks only sports again. So this is an asset that we could use to work to help people actually find their purpose, for example. So in church last Sunday, testimony time, we went for Thanksgiving, myself and my mates from our weekend class. And I shared the testimony, some of what I've shared over here on Springboard. And afterwards, and I talked about my mom, I talked about Arnold, I talked about the work we did, about the help I got from my friends. And somebody comes after, two people came, one very young lady, Neil, I want the grace for academic excellence. And I said, had I not taken the step, who would come and be asking me for grace for academic excellence? It's not like I give it. It comes from God. But the person believes that God through you could also grace the person. I just shook her hand and said, look, whatever it is that you seek to achieve, you achieve it. Just depend on God and have a focus on this is really what I want to do. Another 52-year-old comes and says she's been grappling with the idea of going to school again.
That's the part I like.
She says she can't understand how I came to, because I hardly ever go to that particular service. This is Powerhouse Ministries. Reverend Oscar Monuniza, very good friend of mine. She said, she be coming to church more often. They said, yeah, footballers there. Said, yeah, but the travel is plenty, but sometimes you will come church. So it was Oscar who gave me the space to share the testimony for Thanksgiving with my mates. And the lady comes and says, what you shared today has inspired me to go back to school. So we take certain steps, and sometimes you believe that this is because you need to fulfill this particular path or follow this particular path towards fulfilling purpose. But it ends up ministering to so many other people who have been struggling with making that decision. And look, when I took this, people say, but what do you need this? What no? I hear. But I knew the battles that I'd fought with myself. And I sat and stood beside Arnold alone. Nobody.
I get a sense that everybody received, whether it was a certificate or a citation.
Yeah.
But you received more than that.
Oh yeah, I received more than that, man. I mean, I received an experience that has added a lot of layers to my understanding about life and about how your activity, how your action can impact so many other people.
Going forward, what kind of person would that make Neil Armstrong Mortagbe on this journey?
Oh, it would make me a stronger storyteller, and it will help me to focus much more on that aspect of my purpose. I will not leave the sports space or the football space for that matter, because the purpose finds expression there also. You are leading teams, you are motivating players, you are encouraging so many people who are just looking for a step up in life. But then you're going also heavily or stronger towards the academia side, towards holding, for example, master classes. And it's not to go and talk PR comps, no. It's all the elements that I've learned in communications, in public relations, the study of public relations, to use those lessons to tell my story and to also share principles of communication that I believe everybody needs to succeed in life. And that's the person that I believe this would begin to make me evolve into.
As we wrap this incredible conversation, Neil, guess what? Listening to you, watching you today all over the world, that student looking for a tap on the shoulder to say, you will get there, you're on track.
Yeah.
That 50-something woman saying, oh, you know what? I've put this off for too long.
Yeah.
I'll go back to school.
Yeah.
Or that person who says, in the kaleidoscope of my life are different components that I'm wondering what they mean. If you could just look into this camera and share your closing thoughts for somebody who says, Neil, just give me some vim to go on. What would they be?
Vim. What I would say is this. If you are not sure of where you are called to be in this space, take a deep breath, step back, and ask yourself some very, very critical questions. And that one question I'll ask, which I've asked myself and I've answered is, if you grow up to the age of 80 by God's grace, and the master, the maker says it's time for you to come home, and you feel that there's something that you need to achieve before you come home, what would be your answer to the maker? If your answer is yes, I'm ready to come home, means we fulfilled everything purpose. If you feel that there's still something that you want to achieve, that thing is the pointer to your purpose. I believe all of us are called to a purpose. I believe you are called to a purpose. And you can find that purpose through various means. Watching Springboard is one of those means. You learn lessons of people who have struggled and found their pathway there. And ask yourself candid questions. Discover yourself. And live a life of purpose. It's the most fulfilling thing ever. It's not money. It's about waking up in the morning and knowing that I'm doing something I enjoy doing, whether I'm paid for it or not, I enjoy doing it because ultimately it brings value to you. So it's a struggle. We all have gone through struggles. But the struggle, from the pain, you can find purpose. From the pain, you can find that path towards fulfilling the reason why the Maker brought you to this planet. You can do it. You can do it. Never think you can't do it. God bless you.
And God bless you. Neil Armstrong Mortagbe, the look on your face tells the whole story. You feel happy.
Yes, I am.
And so do I.
Yes, I am.
This has been Springboard, your virtual university. Today hosting my brother and my friend who straddles the worlds of public relations, communication, marketing, motivation, and of course, sports business. The man, Neil Armstrong Mortagbe. Neil, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes, we'll do it again, Albert.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So whatever lessons you've learned from today, I hope it will help you to situate your talent, discover it, develop it, and profitably deploy it throughout the rest of your life. My name is Albert Okran, saying thank you on behalf of the Springboard Ratio Foundation and our partners MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard. Our media partners are Joy News, Joy 99.7 FM, and the Graphic Collection of Newspapers. So we come away again next week. My name is Albert, saying God bless you, and God bless you.